O'clock. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Welcome to Boost Your Career Literacy, an online workshop. So here is our program outline. First, we're going to do some introductions so you are familiar with all the presenters. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some resources from the Kansas State Library to prepare you to be a job seeker. Different jobs aren't created equally, some company research, learn how to find jobs, and of course, some time for Q&A. So my name is Claire Nickerson. I am the Learning Initiatives Librarian here at Forsyth Library, also the liaison to the College of Business. Nikki and Karen, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'm Nikki Dinkle. I am a career advisor in the Career Services Office.
Hello, I am Karen McCullough, and I'm the Director of Career Services.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's start by talking about preparing to be a job seeker, Kansas State Library resources. So the State Library of Kansas provides online databases, ebooks, and audiobooks to Kansas residents and Kansas students. So if you live in Kansas, your IP address will let you access most of the State Library resources without logging in. But for certain resources, or if you live outside of Kansas, you need something called a State Library e-card. If that's something that you would like to sign up for now, you are welcome to send a direct message to Brittany Squire. If you just click her name in the chat there, send her a message with your email address, your full name, including your middle initial, and your birth date, and she will get you signed up for an e-card, and you'll receive an automated email letting you know that you've been signed up. If that's not something that you want to do right now, but you might be interested in doing it later, please send those 3 pieces of information to our references services email, which is refserv@fhsu.edu, refserv@fhsu.edu. Brittany, would you mind sticking that in the chat too? Great, thanks. All right. So our agenda for this resource, we're going to explore 3 different state databases. We're going to talk about Career One Stop, Ferguson's Career Guidance Center, and the EBSCO Learning Express Job and Career Accelerator. And we have limited time today, so we're just going to look at 1 to 2 of the most useful tools on each platform. So Brittany posted the link there in the chat to Kansas State Library. On their website, you will find these databases under online resources on the left, and then under skill builders. All right, so here are the 3 databases that I'm going to focus on, starting with Career One Stop. I'm going to open up this new tab. All right, so some tools that we have access to here, this comes from the U.S. Department of Labor. We can explore careers, we can find training, we can search for jobs, we can find some local help. They have a number of different toolkits, and they also have resources for specific types of people. So if you are feeling like the tools in this database are really overwhelming and you don't know where to start, I'm assuming most of you are going to fall into the category of entry-level worker. And if you click on that, they will give you a list of resources that they think are most helpful. But there are a couple of tools that I particularly want to point out while we're here. One of them under the careers menu is the occupation profiles, which I have entirely lost. Apologies. It's under toolkit careers, occupation profiles. You know, I said that the resources could be a little bit overwhelming, and that I think is accurate. So If you want to learn more about a specific occupation, like for instance, librarians, I'm a librarian. We can click search here, and it will give us an overview of what librarians do and what the career outlook is like, and typical wages across the US, types of education that you need, etc. So this is a really thorough resource. The other thing that I particularly want to point out is also in the toolkit section. It is these wage tools. So we have compare salaries, which will let you compare salaries for the same job in different locations, or for different jobs in the same location. So if I wanted to compare, for instance, librarians and media specialists, what we make here versus what we make in, why not, Beverly Hills? That's a well-known zip code, the 90210 zip code. It will tell me that, gosh, librarians make a lot more in that area of the country. So if I'm thinking about relocating, I might think to myself, well, maybe I should move there. I could make a lot more as a librarian there. However, also in the toolkit, we have compare cost of living. So the salary might be higher there, but the cost of living may also be higher there. So if I currently live in Kansas and I earn, let's say, $50,000, and then I move to Beverly Hills, the salary I would need to earn would be $83,300 to have the same standard of living, according to this tool. So this is Career One Stop is really great, particularly if you are thinking about relocating. What's this? So the next state library database that I'm going to talk about is Ferguson's Career Guidance Accelerator, which is from Infobase. We'll open this up in a new tab. So it has a lot of similar tools here. It has tools for exploring careers, for planning your education, for preparing for your career, and for finding a career. But I think that the tools here under Prepare for Your Career are particularly useful. For instance, if we click on Resume, they have some videos about how to do a resume, but what they also have over here are some sample resumes. So if you are working on your resume in a particular industry or at a particular experience level, they have lots and lots and lots of examples here that you can open up and look at to copy the style. The other thing I'm going to point out here is the cover letters. They also have sample cover letters. So if you need help with that in a specific industry at a specific experience level, they have lots and lots of examples here as well. And if at any point you have questions about any of these databases, you are welcome to just stick those in the chat and we will address them. And of course, they have some additional videos for the other steps in preparing for your career as well. They have videos about interviewing, and they have videos about networking and workplace skills, but I particularly think that those examples of resumes and cover letters are useful. So closing up this database, third database I want to talk about briefly in terms of Kansas State Library databases is Job and Career Accelerator, which is an EBSCO host database. EBSCO is a vendor that sells databases. We actually have a lot of their databases here at FHSU, so you might be familiar with them. So they have, again, similar tools: build resumes and job letters, find a career match, explore occupations, search for jobs and internships, prepare for an interview. We've got some useful ebooks. We've got some tools for discovering schools and scholarships. One thing that I want to point out here is under Find a Career Match, they have either an interest matcher if you're still thinking about maybe what direction you want to take your education, or if you are close to completing your education, they also have a skills matcher, which is particularly great if you are a non-traditional student and maybe you are starting a secondary career. So maybe you already have some skills. The skills matcher will ask you some questions about what you already know how to do, and then it will suggest some careers that you might want to explore based on what skills you already have. The other thing that I particularly want to point out here is under prepare for an interview, they have a lot of sample letters for different steps in the process. So they've got sample letters for networking. They've got sample letters for sending a thank you after you have interviewed. And if we just download this, it's not really an ebook, it's more of a document. But they've got lots of examples here of thank you letters that you send usually via email after you've been to an interview. They've got sample letters on following up after an interview if you haven't heard back. They've got letters of example for if you're trying to accept or decline a job offer, or if you're already in a job and you need to resign before you can take a new job. So a lot of really great resources here. Any questions about any of these databases? All right. In that case, I'm going to hop back over to this presentation, and I'm going to hand things over to Career Services to talk about jobs.
Thank you, Claire. So yes, I am going to discuss with you today about being alerted to the fact that all jobs shouldn't be created equal. Because there are many opportunities out there that may not be quite as great as they seem. And so I'm specifically talking about positions in which there may be upfront costs, or jobs and employers that intentions are maybe identity theft or stealing your money. So those fraudulent type opportunities. So let's kind of start with just being aware of opportunities that may have some upfront costs. I had a student reach out to me last year about an opportunity with a marketing firm. And she was questioning it because they offered unpaid training. Now the company, as I did some further research and looked into it, they were a legitimate organization. However, my further research led me to find out that the work was more independent contract type work. Thus, for the reason for the unpaid training. And they also, on the Better Business Bureau website, seem to have quite a few negative reviews. And so that's kind of a resource to also look into when you're questioning the legitimacy of an employer or what the job actually looks like, what the reviews are like. The Better Business Bureau website is a good resource to kind of look into that. And so kind of another example is a company that has hired a Fort Hays student or two in the past for summer help or internship type help over the summer for kind of door-to-door book sales. So again, it was kind of an independent business type model. And they did have to pay for their own travel expenses. And they learned that, it was all commission based. There was long hours, therefore kind of equating to low wages overall. And that type of position, again, another legitimate company, but it was more a kind of a multi-level marketing organization. And so for even their full-time workers, they had to purchase books at wholesale in advance and then went around doing the door-to-door sales and reselling them at retail price, and even hiring, summer recruits to help do some of those sales. So, we also see a lot of work from home type opportunities that could potentially have startup fees or fees that require you to supply your own technology. So as you're kind of looking into job descriptions and applying for positions, just be aware that some positions aren't quite what they seem. And sometimes they try to, a lot of this information sometimes isn't 100% upfront. And so I see it more with kind of some of those sales opportunities, but definitely just something to be aware of. It might be a position for you, but you need to be aware of those upfront costs, and if that's really something that you're prepared to get yourself into. I'll kind of shift the focus now a little bit and talk about fraudulent listings. Because again, according to the Better Business Bureau, the pandemic has actually created an increase in employment-related scams, I think up 8% in 2020. And we have been really noticing that in career services as well. Our recruiting platform, Handshake, does a very good job in vetting fraudulent employers and fraudulent jobs. And that's something that we try to work on as a staff too before improving those. But it's very difficult sometimes to spot those scam listings. Handshake does it through some trust scores, but sometimes a few of them still kind of slip through the cracks. So we want you all still to be aware of signs and tips for spotting those actual scam job listings. So we'll just kind of cover a few helpful hints here to look for any questionable activity related to an employer or specifically a job listing. So first off, if you're looking at the job opportunity and the position looks like it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you're seeing opportunities come through and they're very high pay for very little work, then that's definitely a red flag. And that's something that we have seen in career services. So there was an Italian restaurant that used to be open in Hayes, and not long after they closed down, I saw a job opportunity come across Handshake, and they tried to create a new employer account in the system. And it was for an office type position at this Italian restaurant. And right away in my mind, I was thinking, I don't think that restaurant is even open anymore. But as I started reading through the job description, it was very high pay for a part-time office position in Hayes, knowing kind of, what the going rate is in Ellis County for that type of work. And then it had in the job description, it had very questionable job duties, such as running errands and preparing and mailing checks. So that was definitely a red flag. Got on the phone number was disconnected, did some additional research, and they had in fact closed. So sometimes we see that even companies trying to sneak in and office type jobs, in Hayes, Kansas, to try to get students to apply for that are not legitimate. I got an email not that long ago, and maybe some students got this email as well about being offered a pet sitting position. And again, if you're getting an email or notification of job offers that you never even applied for, those are red flags. And again, this pet sitting position offered a large amount of money for very little work. And so again, red flag right off the bat. I believe kind of some other tips and things to watch for when you're trying to spot scams are their email domain. So if there's a job posting and the contact for the position, their email domain is maybe a Gmail or a Yahoo domain, and it's not the company's domain, then that's something to look for. Also go out and research their company online, look at the company website, look them up on the Better Business Bureau website to see what reviews and legitimacy you can find there. The physical address is something to take note of as well. So, if you're questioning something, get on Google Maps. I've done that before, where I have actually typed in the physical address of the business on Google Maps, and it's pulled up to an empty field out in the middle of nowhere. And so, right away, I knew that was not legitimate. Really analyzing that job description helps as well. Again, looking for mistakes in the job description, spelling errors, just odd job duties that they're asking you to do, or sometimes they're just very vague and they don't give you a whole lot of a job description. But on the opposite end of that, sometimes these scammers are really good and they copy the company logo, and maybe their email or domain is just one letter off of what the actual website is. And so you just have to be very detail oriented and looking into all of that, because they're definitely, unfortunately, successful at times, and that's how and why they continue to try to scam individuals. If you ever apply for a position and then they ask you to supply financial information by phone or by email, or ask you to wire money, again, it's probably not a legitimate business that you're trying to work for. Let's see here. A couple of websites that I want you to all take note of too. One is just the FTC's website. You can find more information, even additional information about spotting scam jobs on that specific website. But it's also has a place where you can report job scams to the FTC, and they will provide information on steps to actually protect yourself, and they even share your report with law enforcement and other government agencies. Some other things that you should do if you actually provided your personal information to a scammer is visit the identitytheft.gov website to report it, and they will also help you learn ways to actually recover from that identity theft. If you paid by check, provided your checking information, debit, credit card, if you did any bank or wire transfers, even gift cards, things like that, immediately contact your bank. Let them know that it has been compromised. See if they can even reverse the transaction. They may or may not be able to, but they need to be aware right away. A third step is if this organization possibly gained access to your computer or phone, you definitely need to contact your provider right away, and even change passwords if needed. So hopefully that gives you all a few more tidbits about kind of coming across some of those scam opportunities, or even just being aware that not all jobs are quite what they seem, and being careful of some of those that have those upfront costs as well. But we'll kind of go ahead and shift back to a lighter note and visit with y'all a little bit more about researching and learning about organizations.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about company research. Now, a word of advice: the best place to research companies is usually the company's website, because the company's website has the information that they present to the public. It has the information that they're going to expect you to know if you go in for an interview there. That's what you probably want to read before you apply for a job there. But there are also some other places that you can look for additional information beyond the company's website. So we're going to talk about one, library database, and two, sort of open access databases. But before we look at that, we're going to look briefly at a couple of company websites, starting with Midwest Energy. So this is a nice, relatively local company, not too big of a company. You'll notice here on their homepage, they don't just have information about their services, they also have information about their community outreach efforts, like scholarships. So that might be something to be aware of, so that you're familiar with the company values before you go interviewing there. They've got some information here about their environmental initiatives and why they consider that to be important. So these are the kinds of details that if you go to an interview, the company is likely going to expect you to be familiar with. Now, for a larger company, like say Apple, where their main website is more consumer focused, If you scroll down to the bottom, to the footer of the page, you will usually find more of these types of initiatives. So they've got over here in their values section, they've got information about accessibility, they've got information about their education initiatives, they've got information about their environmental initiatives, they've got information about inclusion and diversity and privacy and racial equity and justice. So if you're finding that the main website is not as informative as you would like, take a look down in the footer and see if they do have this kind of information available. The other thing that you might want to do is, if you can't find that information on the main website, go to Google and type in the company's name and then investor relations if it's a publicly traded company. So a lot of companies on their investor relations websites will also provide information about these sorts of initiatives. Yeah, right. So jumping into databases here, we're first going to start with one of our Foresight Library databases. So we're here on the FHSU homepage, which is fhsu.edu/library. And under this main search bar, if we click on research databases, get a list of all of our databases. And here under database types, we can select company profiles/financials. Now, a word of warning, most of the databases that we have, they are more focused on financial information about the company. So if you're interested in their latest annual reports and other SEC filings, this is great. However, some of them do also have some additional non-financial information. The one that I particularly want to highlight today is Nexus Uni, which, if we, hello, it shouldn't be asking me to log in. Give me one moment. It's always very unfortunate if one of our databases misbehaves during a demonstration. This is not how it's supposed to work. I'm going to come back to Nexus Uni maybe in a minute and hope that it's behaving itself. Let's talk briefly about open access databases. So Nikki talked a minute ago about the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau is great, particularly for researching smaller companies that might not be in some of the larger databases. So if we search here, for instance, within Hayes for wireless, maybe. Got the Hayes branch here. It is accredited by the Better Business Bureau, which means that it has committed to certain practices in responding to consumer complaints, and has gotten A+ rating, which means that it does regularly respond to consumer complaints. Most of the people come to the Better Business Bureau because they want to file a complaint. And so if there are reviews, they are frequently negative, because if you have good things to say, you're going to go say them probably, on Yelp and not the Better Business Bureau. But it does have a customer review, and it also tells us that there have been a few complaints. If there are a lot of complaints, or if the complaints have not been answered, that might be a red flag, as Nikki was talking about earlier, that it might not be a legitimate business. But just having a few complaints probably is not a big red flag. A lot of smaller businesses are listed on the Better Business Bureau, but they may not be accredited. So there is a cost associated with that. And they may not have, much information available here. The other open access database that I wanted to mention is Glassdoor. Dante says he's not having issues with Nexus Uni. That's good to know. Maybe it's behaving itself now. I will get back to it in a minute after I finish talking about Glassdoor. So Glassdoor, you do have to create an account on Glassdoor to be able to look up companies. But if we click on companies here, I think I'm already logged in. we can search for companies here within Hayes. So if we want to search, for example, for Hayes Medical Center, which is a big employer here in Hayes, you'll see it's got an overview with a little bit of information about the company, but then it also has reviews from people who work here. So 64% of employees who provided information about Hayes Medical Center on Glassdoor said that they would recommend it to a friend. There's an approval rating for the CEO. There's a star rating. And then if we scroll down here, there are some reviews from employees about the pros and cons of working here. They've got some information about interviews. So it looks like there have been a couple of interviews where people have provided some feedback on the process. And you'll see we also have this information across the top. So we've got 28 reviews. Got our same statistics, but a little bit more information here about why these employees do or don't recommend working here. And then we've got also 63 salaries. So these are workers at Hayes Med who reported their salaries, and Glassdoor automatically divides them into different categories. We've got like for orthopedic surgeon salaries, and if we click on that, it will tell us what the average is. Seems to be very high, and how it compares with the same position in other sort of nearby places. They've got feedback on interviews, in this case, just a couple, and some information about benefits. Looks like people like the benefits at Hayes Med, and some photos. So I'm gonna, unless there are any questions about Glassdoor, close this and hope for the best. Why is it doing that? Oh, we will not talk about researching in Nexus Uni today. Instead, we will hop back over to the presentation. And hopefully from here, I don't know if it's doing that. All right, where to find jobs?
Thanks, Claire. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about, now that we've learned about researching jobs and getting some more information about companies, where we can actually find job listings. Handshake is our Fort Hays technology that connects Fort Hays students to employers. If you're an undergraduate student at Fort Hays, all you need to do is log in with your TigerNet ID at the web link that you see on the screen. Handshake is a robust job search tool that many schools throughout the country use. And so I checked Monday, we had over 10,000 jobs that are posted in Handshake. So as you can see, there are jobs in Hays, Kansas, but there are jobs across the nation and also internationally that are posted in Handshake. So there are a lot of opportunities for all kinds of different career paths that are posted in Handshake. A great tool about Handshake is that you can find jobs and internships. You can also read reviews about companies. As the Better Business Bureau, college students can go in and comment on their work experiences with companies or their internships that they've had. So you can do a lot of research in Handshake as well. If you're thinking that maybe you want to apply for an internship with Koch Industries, you can go out to Koch Industries and you can read all the reviews that students who have worked there have posted. So it's a great tool to use not only for finding jobs and meeting employers, but also doing some more research on different positions and what is out there, and then how students have had experiences with those companies. So I just wanted to show a screenshot of a position that is posted in Handshake. We have Hayes area part-time jobs that are posted in Handshake. And then we also have internships and full-time positions. So when you log into your student account of Handshake, you will see a jobs button at the upper left-hand side of the screen, and you can do a search for job title. You can search by geographic location. You can search for internships, full-time jobs, part-time jobs. And so that can really play around with those different search tools, and you'll get a different listing of positions. This is for an administrative assistant position that is located here in Hayes, Kansas. The system will also tell you if you apply internally through not through Workday, excuse me, too many technologies, internally through Handshake, or if you have an external email address or a website the company would like you to submit your application through. So hopefully you have activated your Handshake account. If you haven't yet, again, all undergraduate students will need to just go to the link provided and log in with their TigerNet ID. If we have some graduate students on the call or alumni, then you can reach out to Career Services and we can connect you to the Fort Hayes Handshake portal. Another great place to find jobs are through industry-specific websites. I pulled this list of the top 22 best career sites that have job postings. And so you can see a lot of them are based on the career path. So finance jobs, journalism jobs, healthcare jobs, but they also have jobs for remote work, for work in nonprofit organizations, folks who are maybe looking for hourly salary jobs, executive roles. Also, sometimes even higher education and different career fields have maybe professional associations that have job listings. For higher education is higheredjobs.com. And most higher education institutions post their job descriptions there, but you may think about or ask your faculty members about professional associations that they belong to. I know my professional association and others that I belong to working in higher education, they all have job boards for entry-level positions and then also professional and higher level positions. So you can do a lot of great research on the internet and find industry-specific websites that post a lot of career information. The best overall website, if you're just going out and doing a pretty broad search, is Indeed.com, because that has a really great, just a broad listing of jobs across the United States. Another place to look on the web for job postings are different towns now and cities are starting to collect jobs for their community and post those online. So I put some screenshots of some in the state of Kansas. The city of Hayes and our economic development group, they have a website called Work Hayes. There are part-time jobs and full-time jobs for all different career paths in Work Hayes. And if you're looking in the Hayes area, this is another great place to look for jobs. Manhattan also has a similar website called Made for Manhattan. You can not only find positions and top employers on that website, you can learn more about the Manhattan community, learn about some of the different community resources that are out there for folks who are looking to move to Manhattan to start a family and work there. And then the city of Wichita also has business resources and different jobs that they are posting on behalf of employers in their area. So you can kind of slice and dice your career search in a few different ways. You can look at industry specific, and you can kind of do nationwide job searches, or if you're really honing in on, I want to live in Wichita or Manhattan or Hayes or another town, go out and see if there is a job posting site specifically for that town or even that region. when we're looking for jobs, we definitely want to connect with others. Maybe you have heard the adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that is very true when it comes to finding internships and jobs. So these were some statistics from a 2019 Jobseeker survey. Of the respondents, 50% of job seekers found jobs through their friends. 37%, they learn about open positions through professional networks. 35% of job seekers found job positions on social media. And interestingly, 80% of employers surveyed are using social media as a recruitment tool. So when we think about networking, this infographic shows that we should be networking both online and within our families, our friends, colleagues that we see every day, our faculty members. We want to make sure that we're using all of our networks and creating a big scope of folks who know that we're looking and can help network and connect us with open employers and open positions. So thinking about then social media, we know employers are posting on social media, and these are some of the different places that employers are posting their job. And these are also social media networks that you can advertise yourself and connect with folks and also share your skills. LinkedIn is the top spot for folks who are looking to find new jobs and connect with job seekers. Unfortunately, when we look at LinkedIn, a lot of folks looking for jobs don't maximize the platform to its most potential. So you want to make sure that you optimize your profile, that you include a professional headshot, that you create information and talk about what types of positions you're looking for. Make your personal statement broad yet specific, so folks know what you're looking for and what you're trying to do. Then you want to, again, post different positions that you have had, and also show your likes and your interests and your involvements. You also, if you can have folks write reviews for you, that would be really great. On LinkedIn as well. If you can upload some work samples, especially for folks who are in creative fields, if you're doing photography or you're designing things and you can include samples on your LinkedIn profile, that will be very amazing. Facebook is another social media platform that employers will post jobs on. You can actually do a search in Facebook by just typing in jobs on Facebook. And it'll pop up with jobs that employers have posted on Facebook. That was something that I didn't even know about. You can also put messages out and post to your contacts in Facebook and let them know, I'm a recent Fort Hays graduate and I'm really looking for an accounting job in the Kansas City area. Facebook friends, do you know folks who are in accounting or businesses that are looking to hire recent graduates? Please connect us. But you also want to make sure that if you have a job, a full-time job, and you're out on Facebook advertising that you're looking for a new one, that you have alerted your current employer if you have coworkers or your employer as a Facebook friend, because that could be pretty awkward if you post on Facebook that you're looking for a job and you haven't told your current employer that you're planning to leave the organization. So just some things to think about. Instagram is a great tool and a social media tool for you to show your personal brand. And really, today's workshop is part of making your mark. And that's really creating your personal brand, sharing with others what your identity is, what your interests are, your passions are, and just sharing that little insight into your personality. Pinterest. This is a great site for folks who are going into design, interior design, graphic design. A lot of women tend to use Pinterest. So contractors may be out on Pinterest looking for folks to help be part of their design team. Twitter's another platform to build your professional brand. You have to be pretty succinct with your messaging in Twitter. So it's you wouldn't want to rely solely on the social media tool to create your brand, but you can do a lot of great networking on Twitter. And then finally, for those creative folks who are creating videos and some of that digital content, YouTube is a great place for you to have your own channel to share what you're doing and to network and get folks to like and comment on your recent videos. So lots of different ways that you can utilize office or services that Fort Hays has, as far as Handshake. And we also have Going Global, which is a website for folks maybe who are thinking of working internationally, or it does also have a job search tool in there as well, through then using other tools on the internet and social media for you to find job positions. So I think that is the end of the content that we have. You see on the screen, we have the Career Services website as well as Forsyth Library. We have a lot of information and resources on our websites. I believe Brittany is dropping those into the chat box for you all to see. I am going to pause at this point and say we are all here to answer your questions. So if you have questions, feel free to please either unmute yourself and ask your question, or definitely drop it in the chat box.
If I may, it looks like Nexus Uni is working for me in Firefox, which means I may just need to clear my cache in Chrome, but I'd rather not do that during the presentation, just because it will also log me out of the presentation, which we kind of need. So if I may, I'm just going to unshare here and share it briefly in Firefox so that everyone can see that while you're thinking about your questions, maybe. All right, so here is Nexus Uni as it is supposed to look. And to research businesses, you want to click on business here at the bottom under Discover Topics. And then here under Company Dossier, if you click Find a Company, you can search for companies by location. So currently we're searching all countries. I'm going to edit this so that we're just searching North America, United States, and specifically Kansas. And then let's go ahead and search here for Midwest Energy. All right. So it looks like we have 3 locations here, but only one of them is the headquarters. So that's the one that we want to look at. So over here on the left, we have an overview of the company and also some company information. And the company information specifically includes company history. So if it will tell you if there have been any changes, for instance, in the company name over the past few years, or if there have been changes, like here, there were changes in executives. It looks like they hired maybe some new folks. They've also got here executive contacts. So if you're looking on the company's website and you want to contact someone maybe for an informational interview and you're not sure who to contact, Nexus Uni is really great because it will provide you a list of people who are in various positions and their contact information. I'm going to stop sharing now and let people ask their questions.
Well, and on behalf of Career Services, we're so thankful that you all joined us today. We were recording our presentation, and we will have that available for any of you all to watch again or share with folks in your majors or friends who may be needing this information. Please feel free to reach us. Career Services is located on the first floor of the new Center for Student Success, which is attached to the Memorial Union. So please drop by and see us anytime. We have a great website with resources, and we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions or help you with your job search. Claire, do you have some final thoughts from the library?
I'll just say, if you need any help using either the state library databases or our Forsyth library databases, or you're doing company research for any other reason, I would be happy to assist anyone who's feeling a little bit lost with those resources.